the most delicious, the most versatile vegetable in the world, the humble potato. Fry these up in the best side dish to any entree. But today, we're gonna turn these french fries into the most amazing entree that is fit to feed an emperor. So today, we're making a Char Siu Pork Poutine. Now poutine is a Canadian dish that contains 3 ingredients: french fries, cheese, and gravy. So we're gonna be making our own french fries today, an amazing Chinese gravy, topping with cheese, and then we're gonna roast a pork shoulder with Chinese spices, and it's gonna be absolutely amazing. Let's get into that. So to start out, we're gonna start by making the marinade for our pork shoulder. So we're gonna start by crushing 4 cloves of garlic. We'll just place it all in a big bowl, and then we'll slice up a nice size knob of ginger into thin slices, and then we'll put that in the bowl as well. Next, we'll add in a 1/4 cup of honey, followed by a 1/4 cup of hoisin. And then next we'll add in our mala. This is a Chinese sauce made of Sichuan peppercorn, oil, and other spices. I'll put a link in the description below so you can find it. Next, we'll add a 1/4 cup of sherry, 1.5 tablespoons of Chinese 5 spice. This is a mix of star anise, clove, cinnamon, Sichuan peppers, and fennel seed. We'll add in a teaspoon of salt, and then finally, we'll just add in a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. Now we'll mix that until it's thoroughly combined. And then we'll put in our pork shoulder, also known as pork butt. You can use any kind of pork that you like, but something like a tenderloin doesn't have as much fat, so it's not going to be as flavorful as, say, this pork shoulder here. So just toss it around till it's fully coated. Then we'll wrap it up in plastic wrap, put it in the fridge so it can marinate for at least 4 hours, but overnight will be much better. So the next step is to wash and peel the potatoes so we can turn them into fries. First, cut the potato in half and then lengthwise into strips, and then finally turn them flat on the cutting board and slice them into fries. You can make them as thick or as thin as you want. I cut these about 1/4 inch thick. Just make sure you take your time while you're cutting so as to make sure you don't cut yourself, because these potatoes can get a little slippery. To avoid your potatoes from turning gray after cutting them, immediately put them in cold water, and after you finish cutting all the potatoes, put that bowl in the fridge for about 2 to 3 hours, all the way up to overnight. Now that the pork has been marinating for 4 hours, we'll go ahead and take it out the fridge and put it in a pan. This pan is a little too small, but you gotta work with what you got. Make sure to save the rest of the marinade, because we're going to put this on top as our glaze after it finishes cooking in the oven. Now we'll go ahead and put it in a preheated oven, uncovered, at 350 degrees. For this size pork, it's about 5 to 6 pounds, so we're going to cook it at around 45 minutes a pound, so this will roast for about 4 hours in the oven. Make sure to cover it with aluminum foil about halfway through the cooking so you don't burn the top of it. Now we'll start on making the fries. We're going to be frying these twice. The first fry is just to cook them all the way through, and the second is to make them extra crispy. Try to drain as much of the water from the bowl as you can, and then we're going to place them on a baking sheet lined with paper towels, and we're going to pat these dry, trying to get as much of the water off of these as we can. So to fry these for the first time, we're going to heat canola oil up to 325 degrees. You can use something else like vegetable or avocado oil, something that has a high smoke point, but something like olive oil will just burn before you even get it up to the right temperature. We're going to cook these for about 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how thick you cut your potatoes. We're going to make sure we cook these in batches, not to overcrowd the pot. Make sure always careful when dealing with hot oil, make sure you don't splash it around. After about a minute, you want to make sure you stir them around so that all the fries don't clump together and stick together. I cooked these fries for about 4 minutes, just to the point where they started to turn a darker color. That's when I took them out. I put them on a baking sheet lined with more paper towels so they can drain, and then I popped them into the freezer to cool off before we fry them for the second time. So the pork roast has been cooking for a little over 4 hours, so go ahead and take it out the pan, and we're going to put it on a baking sheet. Make sure you save all the juices from the pan and set it aside for now. Next, we'll take all the leftover marinade that we saved from earlier and brush it all over the pork, and then we're going to put that back in the oven uncovered for an additional 15 to 20 minutes, just so the outside is all sticky and delicious. After you take it out the oven, make sure you marvel at how great it smells, and we'll go ahead and set it aside for now so it can rest for about 30 minutes before we slice into it. Now we're going to fry the fries for the second time. We begin by heating up the oil to 375 degrees, and then we can grab the fries out the freezer. We'll go ahead and drop them into the pot, being very careful not to splash the oil. And these will be in there for less than a minute, so just until they turn golden brown and crispy. Then we'll take them out. Immediately after you take them out, go ahead and toss them with a generous sprinkling of salt. Now we'll go ahead and start on making the Chinese gravy. It is really simple and really quick to make. It only takes about a couple minutes. So starting off with a tablespoon of sesame oil, we'll add a 1/4 cup of soy sauce, a 1/4 cup of white wine of your choosing, 1 tablespoon of hoisin, a tablespoon of sugar, and lastly a tablespoon of cornstarch just to thicken it up. We'll go ahead and whisk all of this together till it's combined thoroughly, and then we'll bring it to a boil just until it thickens. And then we'll add a 1/4 cup of the juices from the roast. Try to skim off any of the excess fat from the top layer, and you can add as much juice as you want just to get the right consistency that you're looking for. We've let the pork rest for about 30 minutes, so now it's time to take a look inside and see how we did. Just take a look at how juicy and tender it is. Just perfectly cooked, and will be the most amazing addition to put on our poutine. So now, all there's left to do is just cut this pork into bite-sized pieces so we can put them on our fries. The final step into making our delicious poutine is to get the cheese nice and melted on the fries. Normally poutine is made with cheese curds, but considering we're in the middle of a pandemic and I couldn't find any, you're going to have to give me a pass on that. Instead, I'm just using some shredded white cheddar. We'll go ahead and place that under our broiler in the oven just until the cheese is nice and melted and a little bit bubbly. Now it's time to assemble. So we'll start by adding a couple spoonfuls of our Chinese gravy. Then we'll follow that up by adding our Char Siu pork, and then just a little bit more gravy on top. And we're going to finish this off with a sprinkling of green onions. The green onions give the dish a nice contrast in color, as well as helps cutting all the richness that is in the dish. This meal is a little time consuming to make, but it is well worth the effort. And you'll have some leftover pork for later, and it tastes just as amazing and goes really well if you make some nachos or tacos with it. It's just extraordinary. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and smash the like button. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I got new videos coming out every Saturday. So until the next one, peace.